I remember one, if I can take a little time.
Of course.
I have to explain this a bit. We were doing a shot supposedly on the beach. This was in a soundstage.
Rock Hudson was the face of Hollywood charm. With his tall frame, handsome smile, and unforgettable screen presence, he ruled the silver screen in the 1950s and 1960s to the world. He seemed like the perfect leading man, romantic and admired by millions. But behind the glamour was a story Hollywood kept buried for more than 40 years. It all centered around a secret tape recorded in 1958 that captured Hudson in a private moment no one was ever meant to hear. His own words, spoken in the safety of his home, revealed truths about his life that the industry fought to hide. When this recording finally came to light, decades later, it showed how far Hudson had gone to protect his image, how much fear he carried inside, and how cruelly Hollywood forced its stars to live double lives. This was not just the story of a celebrity scandal. It was the story of a man trapped between fame and secrecy, between love and survival. Rock Hudson was not born a star. He came into the world as Roy Harold Shearer Jr. on November 17, 1925, in Winnetka, Illinois. His childhood was far from glamorous. His father, a working-class mechanic, lost his job during the Great Depression and soon left the family, abandoning his wife and young son. Roy was only a small child at the time, but the wound of that early loss stayed with him for life. His mother remarried, choosing a strict former Marine named Wallace Fitzgerald, who adopted Roy and gave him his new last name. Life under Fitzgerald's roof was hard. The boy felt his identity slipping away, his name, his freedom, even his sense of safety. He often felt out of place, never quite at home in his own family. By his teenage years, Roy dreamed of escaping into another world, one filled with stories and characters. Acting became his secret hope. But even there, he faced obstacles. He had trouble memorizing lines, which kept him from getting roles in school plays. Teachers dismissed him, classmates doubted him, yet something inside Roy kept pushing him forward. Those early hardships built a kind of determination that would later fuel his rise. Even though the odds were against him, he refused to give up. When World War II ended in 1945, Roy Shearer, who the world would later know as Rock Hudson, returned from service in the U.S. Navy. He had spent his war years as a mechanic, working on airplanes in the Philippines. It was not glamorous work, but it gave him discipline and confidence. With the war behind him, Roy had only one dream left: to become a Hollywood actor. But Hollywood was a fortress that did not welcome outsiders easily. Roy had no connections, no acting background, and no money. He took a job as a truck driver to make ends meet, but his heart remained fixed on movie studios. He spent hours standing outside the gates of big production companies, handing out photographs of himself and hoping someone important would give him a chance. Most days ended in rejection, but he refused to quit. Then, in 1947, luck finally arrived. A well-known agent named Henry Wilson noticed his picture. Wilson was famous for creating stars out of unknown faces. He believed Roy had potential, but only if he was completely remade. And so, Roy Shearer became Rock Hudson, a name invented to sound strong, timeless, and unforgettable. The transformation did not stop there. Acting lessons, speech training, dental work, and even posture coaching were arranged. Wilson's plan was to build the perfect leading man, and Rock Hudson was born out of that vision. Hudson's first steps in Hollywood were shaky. His very first film role came in 1948 in a small movie called Fighter Squadron. He had only one line, but it took him dozens of tries to get it right. Directors called him stiff, even mocking him as a big dumb tree. Yet instead of giving up, Hudson worked harder. Universal Pictures soon bought his contract, convinced he had something unique to offer. They put him through an intense program, writing lessons, fencing, singing, acting classes, everything to polish him into a star. Slowly, Hudson improved. From 1948 to 1954, he appeared in nearly 30 films, moving from nameless extras to lead roles in westerns and dramas. In 1954, His big break came with Magnificent Obsession, a melodrama where he played a selfish playboy who changes his life to help the woman he harmed. Critics were divided, but audiences loved it. That single role transformed Hudson from a rising actor into a major Hollywood star. By the mid-1950s, his name was everywhere. He was tall, handsome, and carried himself with a charm that audiences could not resist. Magazines declared him one of the most popular actors in America. He was no longer the boy struggling for auditions at studio gates. He had arrived. Hudson's career soared through the 1950s. He became the face of romantic dramas like All That Heaven Allows and Written on the Wind, proving he could bring depth and passion to his roles. But his greatest achievement came in 1956 with Giant, an epic film that paired him with Elizabeth Taylor and James Dean. Hudson played a proud Texas rancher whose life unfolds across decades. The role tested his skills like never before, and he delivered one of the best performances of his career. Giant became a classic, and Hudson earned his first and only Academy Award nomination for Best Actor. By now, he was not just a Hollywood heartthrob, he was considered a serious actor. Yet, while fans adored him and critics respected him, behind the scenes, Hudson carried a secret in 1950s America. Being gay was dangerous, and for an actor as famous as Hudson, it could mean the end of everything. Whispers about his private life had already begun. Magazines like Confidential hinted at scandals, and reporters were eager to expose Hollywood secrets. To protect his career, Hudson's agent Henry Wilson came up with a plan. In 1955, he arranged a marriage between Hudson and his secretary, Phyllis Gates. To the public, it looked like a beautiful love story. In reality, it was a carefully staged cover-up. Hudson's marriage to Phyllis Gates was meant to protect him from rumors. They tied the knot in November 1955 in Santa Barbara, with only a small group of people present. To the press, Hudson described his marriage as the happiest part of his life. But in private, things were far from perfect. Gates and Hudson did not have a loving relationship. Their honeymoon in Jamaica was awkward, and soon after, Gates noticed Hudson staying out late and receiving mysterious phone calls. Gossip grew stronger, suggesting Hudson was secretly involved with men. By 1957, the marriage was falling apart. Gates filed for divorce, accusing Hudson of cruelty. Their split was bitter and public, but the truth behind their marriage remained. Hidden Hollywood studios worked hard to protect Hudson's image. They traded secrets about other stars to keep the tabloids away from him. Still, Hudson was trapped. He could not live openly, and he could not escape the watchful eyes of the press. What Gates did next made things even more complicated. She worked with a private investigator to secretly record a conversation with Hudson inside their home in 1958. That tape, which stayed hidden for decades, contained the most personal and dangerous secret of Hudson's life. One night in 1958, Phyllis Gates confronted Rock Hudson at home. Guided by private investigator Fred Otash, she set up a trap. During their talk, she asked him deeply personal questions about his relationships. Then she asked the one question that would haunt Hudson if it ever became public: whether he was involved with men. Unaware that their conversation was being recorded, Hudson gave an answer that could have destroyed his career. He admitted enough to confirm the rumors. At that time, even a hint of homosexuality could blacklist an actor forever. Hudson's words, spoken in confidence, became dangerous evidence. Gates eventually used the divorce settlement to secure financial support, but she kept the recording hidden. Otash stored it away with other secrets about Hollywood stars. For more than 40 years, the tape remained locked away. It was only after Otash's death that his files began to surface, finally revealing what had been said that night. For Hudson, the tape represented the invisible prison he lived in, forced to hide his true self, to play a role off-screen as carefully as he did on-screen, all to keep his career alive. Even as his personal life was complicated, Hudson's professional life continued to shine. In 1959, he starred opposite Doris Day in Pillow Talk, a romantic comedy that became a massive hit. Audiences loved their chemistry, and the film turned Hudson into the king of romantic comedies. The success was so great that Hudson and Day made 2 more films together: Lover Come Back, 1961, and Send Me No Flowers, 1964. Their movies were light, playful, and full of charm. Fans adored them, and Hudson's image as the perfect leading man grew even stronger. Behind the scenes, however, Hudson worked hard to control his career. He started his own production companies, giving himself more power over the roles he chose. Still, not every choice was wise. He turned down parts in legendary films like Ben-Hur and The Bridge on the River Kwai. Instead, he starred in A Farewell to Arms, which flopped and hurt his reputation. Yet Hudson remained one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, thanks to his loyal audience and undeniable screen presence. By the 1970s, Hollywood was changing. Younger stars were taking over, and many older actors struggled to stay relevant. Hudson, however, took a bold step. In 1971, he moved to television, starring in the crime drama Macmillan and Wife. At the time, film stars rarely crossed over to TV, but Hudson proved it could work. The show ran for 6 seasons, and Hudson became one of television's most popular faces. His salary was enormous, making him one of the highest-paid actors of the time. Audiences loved him as a charming police commissioner alongside Susan St. James, who played his witty wife. Hudson also showed his playful side on variety shows like The Carol Burnett Show, where he made fun of his own image. By embracing television, Hudson managed to extend his career into a new era. He was no longer just a movie star. He was a household name that audiences welcomed into their living rooms each week the early 1980s. Hudson was still active in television and film, appearing in miniseries like The Martian Chronicles, and later joining the cast of Dynasty. But behind the scenes, his health was failing. In 1984, doctors diagnosed him with AIDS, a disease that at the time carried not only a death sentence, but also deep social stigma. Hudson kept his illness secret, fearing what it would mean for his career and reputation. When his condition became public in 1985, the world was shocked. He was the first major celebrity to openly face AIDS, and suddenly the disease was no longer seen as something distant. Hudson's struggle humanized the crisis and brought global attention to the need for research. He sought experimental treatments in Paris, but grew weaker as the months passed. On October 2, 1985, Rock Hudson died at the age of 59. His death marked a turning point in how the world viewed AIDS. For many, it was the first time they realized it could affect anyone, even Hollywood's most beloved star. When the hidden tape of Rock Hudson's private conversation finally surfaced, decades later, it reshaped the way people understood his life. The world now knew the truth. He had been forced to hide the truth that Hollywood protected for fear of losing one of its brightest stars. But the tape also revealed the cruelty of a system that demanded silence from its actors. Hudson's story is remembered not just for his films, but for the personal battles he endured in an unforgiving industry. Today, he is seen as both a Hollywood legend and a symbol of strength. His courage in facing AIDS publicly helped break down fear and ignorance. His death inspired funding and awareness that saved countless lives. And the scandal that was hidden for 40 years, it became proof of how far society has come and how much one man sacrificed just to